We in the Imperium are proud to present to you this Inquisition-approved product. Welcome to Warhammer Darktide, the first good Warhammer 40k game to come out in the last 10 years. To get my obvious bias out of the way, I am a 40k nerd, and have been for a while, so keep that in mind as I coom about every single little mechanic as I outline my whole experience. Darktide is a first-person horde shooter with up to 4-person multiplayer and RPG elements, mixed in for good measure. Similar to Left 4 Dead and Back 4 Blood, wow, a lot of 4s in these types of games are, made by Swedish Utvetkaren? Fatshark, a company well known for making Warhammer games. Once you actually open the game, they immediately shove you into character creation, as this is actually a really big part of the game. First, you get to choose your class. Yeah, I know, another game with a class system, but unlike some games, you can actually have multiple of the same class on the same squad. Anyway, as I was saying before you so rudely interrupted, you get to choose your class. You've got the Veteran, the Psyker, the Zealot, and the Orgren, with each of them having an active ability, some passives, and an aura ability, something that affects all those close by. The Veteran is the standard COD protagonist, the most versatile and safe class out of the 4. Their ability is Volley Fire, highlighting all elite enemies and getting a massive damage buff for 4 seconds. The Veteran also comes equipped with a simple frag grenade, a flat 15% damage boost on headshots, increased ammo capacity, and an aura ability giving you some ammo after killing elites. The Zealot is your basic berserker melee type person, and boy are they stacked. Their ability allows them to rush forward, critting with the next melee hit and replenishing some of their toughness. I'll explain what that is later. They also throw a stun grenade, have higher melee speed, gain damage for missing HP, are invulnerable if you take fatal damage, and give some damage resist to teammates when they're close by. Orgren is a classic British football supporter, in the sense that he's British, he's angry, and he's a tank. They can rush forward, knocking enemies away and giving himself some movement speed for good measure. Instead of a grenade, they gave him a literal box that he throws at people, dealing massive damage to a single target. Has some extra oomph on melee, take less damage of course, and cannot be interrupted when rezzing. He also grants all allies around them some more damage on heavy attacks. And finally, we have the Psyker, the most complicated role, and that's saying it lightly. So first things first, all of your abilities and sometimes weapons use the warp to power them up, but also generate peril. Letting it reach 100% lets you see all the answers in the universe and explode. So your basic ability is Force Push, knocking enemies on their asses and removing most of your peril. Instead of a grenade, you have Brain Burst, and it's exactly what it sounds like, popping heads or dealing massive damage to a single target. You also gain a stack of Warp Charge, giving you extra damage, stacking up to 4 times. You also will have a small chance of reducing your peril when you kill something, whilst also granting higher damage against elites as your aura. And me being the manifestation of the clown emoji, I of course pick Psyker. Next up is your home planet, the game giving a brief description of each one along with a picture. I chose Cadia, because
Cadia stands!
And moved on to childhood, your character's lifestyle, and your life's defining moments. A cool feature I noticed is that each block of text is slightly different for each class, giving each a hint of individuality. But those are largely unimportant, just used to make the game more immersive. Finally, it was to the actual character creation screen, and of course I just clicked randomize once and was onto the personality of my psychic friend. Each role having 3. The 3 I got to choose were Insane,
They're normally nicer.
Smart,
I should have known the enforcers would not tolerate me forever.
I am downloading.
and German.
Seems that no matter how low I set my expectations, it can always get worse.
I chose Insane because, you know, my beloved! The personality choice being one of the most important things out of all of them, as the people in your squad will speak to each other constantly.
We need a.
And every world, this world isn't so bad once you get used to the smell.
And then you get to pick your crime. Remember, you are a reject. And in the game, you're a criminal. With my handsome boy being guilty of sedition, because it has the most drip.
This world, you either drip or drown, Spider-Man!
Finally, to name my dog. After going through name after name, I arrived at the scariest of names.
The Jack-o'-lantern.
To prison, where we're introduced to Explicator Zola, a rather disrespectful woman. Then, the Heretics attack, breaking their commander out of prison and accidentally breaking us out. Oh, you're fucked up now! But first, we have to escape the sewers, armed with only our shovel. Don't ask where I got it from. My ass. Introducing us to melee combat. You have block, push, melee attack, heavy attack, and a follow-up attack after pushing. We fight our way to Zola, who's been stabbed. Look who's scum now, bitch! Instead of killing her, we help her up, yoink a gun, and start shooting. Eventually making it to the landing bay, where a squad of idiots come out, guns blazing, because this dumbass can't turn a key to start the ship. Anyway, after a bunch of shooting, she lets us join her merry band for saving her. Finally, we get to the Morning Star, and go through another set of tutorials explaining the fighting mechanics. First is toughness, which is this funny blue bar. Whenever enemies hit you, it will first damage your toughness. Once that is broken, you'll get interrupted by pretty much everything. And to replenish it, you have to either smack people with your melee or duck out of combat for a bit. Next is corruption. Most Demon Knight enemies will inflict corruption, which is this purple bar. This bar will reduce your max HP, and once it goes up too far, when you're downed, you will immediately die. After a little pep talk from Zola, I am a warrior! Ah! We're finally free to start the missions. All missions, right now anyways, take place on Tertium, a hive city that's been taken over by disgusting, gross, obscene, vile heretics! And it's our job to get rid of them. Currently, there are 7 mission types, with each type having a difficulty of 1 to 5. Strike is your classic horde shooter mission. Go in, kill anything that's in your way, do something simple, get out. Assassination is the same, except there's always an arch-heretic at the end that needs to be purged. Espionage is when you go to a console, insert some data whilst keeping mobs away. Raid is directly attacking something fortified to yoink something important. Disruption is fucking with enemy resources. Repair, pretty self-explanatory, where your main objective is to fix something, usually requiring multiple steps. And investigation is escorting a servo skull, scanning an area. That's the extremely dumbed down version, but that's the gist. I finally picked my mission, and it was off to Tertium to purge some heretics. Our first mission was to breach a vault and steal some pathogen samples. First, we needed to fight our way to the servitor colony. Then we needed to repair an elevator. This brings me on to another thing I love about the game. Melee and range combat are equally viable, with the game often forcing you to use your melee to help cull the massive hordes. This, combined with the elites that often have a way to restrict your movement, will spell your doom if you're not able to choose the correct weapon type at the right time. Then, we made it to the entrance of the vault, where we have to hack in and defend it from the hordes, all while getting degraded by a tech priest.
I can only imagine you attempted random inputs until it worked, but it is now working.
Joke's on you, bitch, I'm into that shit. Finally, the path was clear. It was straight to the vault. What the fuck is that thing? Most levels will have a boss of some sort, usually placed so you don't veer too far off track, or to stop people from just straight greasing every mission. Finally, we got to the vault, to yoink the contagion samples. One after one, we grab and go, eventually sending up the cans of COVID-96, and it was time to get the hell out of Dodge. You know what? Not bad for my first mission.
Oh, this.
Big on for my tree!
No!
But if you think the game is just shooty, then you are stoopy. The game also is rife with RPG elements. After each mission, you increase your trust level, unlocking new weapon types, with each weapon having a rating and a rarity, and with each class having unique weapons. For the Psyker, I have a warp sword, which can be charged to do massive single target damage, and staves, which generate peril to do massive damage attacks. We also get access to new things on the Morningstar. The first unlock was this guy who sells you these weapons in exchange for doubloons, which we get from missions. So here we fucking go. One after one. Missions completed. Trust increased. Weapons? I paid for it! The next unlock was the Shrine of the Omnissiah, where you can increase the rarity of your weapons, take and stash the small buffs they get, and finally combine stashed buffs onto one weapon. All of these costing batteries and cubes, things you find while on mission. Then it was feats. What the fuck? They have a skill tree! At a certain level, you will unlock points in this skill tree, and as usual, each bracket is more powerful than the last, with the first one in Psycho's 3 just being a slight boost to durability to giving an AoE effect on Brain Burst. Finally is the mission terminal, where you do shit for marks and turn those marks in for more powerful gear on a rotation. And don't get me started on the music, it's the perfect mix of cyberpunk and high gothic. It's like music to purge and kill heretics to. And that's the game. With the only criticism I have for now being the lack of variety content, but I can see that changing very soon. With how extensive the Warhammer lore is, I wouldn't be surprised if eventually we get orcs, tyranids, or at the very least, Core Knight or Slaneshi demons and heretics to fight. That and the really long and numerous loading screens. I swear you spend at least a quarter of your time staring at this fucking screen. There's also how specialized each role is, and how hectic each level can get. Not having a veteran or an Ogryn, the two classes I most rarely saw, can easily make the level 3 times harder. And those are honestly just nitpicks, as the game is incredibly fun alone or with friends, and I will be eagerly watching the game for any and all updates. So I rate this God Emperor given gift of a game 9 out of 10. It has some performance issues that made it so that my mate couldn't run the game on high, but the game still looks gloriously gritty and grimdark even on medium. I highly recommend Darktide. Play it, and glory be to the Master of Mankind. This ends your Inquisition approved broadcast.